group number 2. I hope all is going well with you. So basically our product is Coca-Cola and the Share Coke campaign. So we want to see if the Share Coke campaign influences people's decision to buy. So what we're going to be going over today is our agenda here. We're going to cover all these topics, and I'm going to let Kevin take it from here.
All right, so I'll be covering our background and how we chose Coca-Cola. So basically we were brainstorming ideas, what we were thinking to do. And the same day you gave the project out, we saw you drinking a Coke bottle, so we thought that would be a good idea to use that as well. We also came across a couple Share Coke campaign advertisements, and yeah. So the management dilemma, we were wondering if the popularity of the product could contribute to further revenues for Coca-Cola, so this campaign would help create revenue. It costs money to make additional advertisements and campaigns, so the question is, would it be beneficial for them to continue to produce these advertisements? One more, go back into that. So the management dilemma is it in Coca-Cola's best interest to continue to invest funds into the production of a Share Coke campaign and advertisements? So our research question was, how does the personalization of Coke products, through the Share Coke campaign positively influence a buyer's decision to purchase the product? So our secondary research, we found that in 2014, more than 150 million personalized bottles sold across Europe. Over 730,000 glass bottles personalized via the e-commerce store. 17,000 virtual name bottles shared online across Europe. US Coke sales rose by 2% after labeling cans and bottles with names. Coke's US soft drink volume rose 0.4% from the year before, and the Coke consumption jumped 7% among Australians after Share Coke was first introduced.
So our hypothesis is that we believe the personalization of these Coke products will have a positive relationship and want to make these consumers want to purchase more Coke products. So as a review, we explained what the benefits were to our study, why we conducted the survey, what it was for. The people taking it knew that it was anonymous, privacy was important, we took it seriously, and we gave a brief description about what we were asking. About how consumers felt about the Share Coke campaign. We expect to define a positive relationship between the people who drank and appreciate Coke and the people who claim they was searched for a Coke bottle with a name on it.
So now we're going to be talking about the changes. We changed quite a bit in our survey. We took out 2 open-ended questions, didn't leave for really good results, and we took out gender questions. Gender questions can be used in the survey, but for our data in particular, it wasn't too useful. We made our new questions numerical and continuous, so there weren't any questions that were just placed randomly. We ordered them well. And we added questions that were more accurate to the data that we needed to collect, obviously, and we changed the scale of our questions to likely and unlikely with 3 other options in between.
Okay, so the impact of the analysis. This is one of our questions. As you can see, it's the Likert scale. The other question is a numerical scale form. We found that for both questions, most surveyors, their answers were disagreed, and that gave us a better understanding of how the customers felt about the product. Being an effective campaign, where the consumers' answers showed that they were more exposed to the brand awareness rather than actually wanting to participate in the campaign. Our sample methods, so our preferred ideal sample method would have been Coke drinkers across Canada, so not necessarily just everybody, but the people who actually participate with Coca-Cola. That would give us a better understanding of what they want, more accurate data, and a less skewed scale. Our actual sample, we got our research from third-year Guelph Humber students, and we chose this because it was time constrained.
Now we'll be talking about the biases. We'll first start with the response bias. So many participants did not respond in such a way that revealed their true thoughts on the research that we were conducting. This may represent their actual behaviors, beliefs, or thoughts on the product. And some participants did not answer certain questions. They simply left them blank, which didn't obviously give us accurate data because they didn't answer to the best of their ability. So now we'll be talking about the social desirability bias. We feared that some people would answer the questions in the way they thought they should answer them, not in the way they wanted to answer them or they would personally answer them. They did this because they want to be socially accepted. Even though they know that it's anonymous, they know that people will be looking at it and they want their answers to be the norm, I guess. And so an example would be, one question that we asked in our survey was, I'll spend up to 3 minutes searching through Coke cans to find one with my name on it. We had the 5 options. Most people would answer, we found that most people answered strongly disagree, but in reality, people would actually spend longer than 3 minutes trying to find a Coke with their name on it.
I'll be going through the data collection, and thanks to the help of SOFA, we were able to take in the raw data and interpret it into our study. So here, this is for question 1. As you can see, 72% of people are unlikely to search for a Coke with their name on it. This is from our surveyors. As you see, the 5, which represents represents very unlikely, is much higher than the rest of the options. As you can see, the mean is 4 too, meaning that the average is pretty high, that people are very unlikely to not search for a Coke with their name on it. Now for question 8, which asked if the name on the Coke bottle helped perceive the value of the Coke, this claims that 81% of the people's perceived value of the Coke does not change with their name on it. Because as you can see, all 3, 4, and 5, which represent the strongly disagree, and disagree, are much higher than someone that would agree or strongly agree. And then, however, this is the one thing that our surveyors showed a pattern, that even though they were strongly disagreeing with with them searching for a Coke or them wanting a Coke, them wanting a name on their Coke, they all agreed, like 76% of the people agreed or were neutral, that they agreed that basically the strategy of this campaign is very effective and that it's working very well for their consumers. Next slide. So we took an ANOVA table and it gave us, with the data we found, gave us the p-value, and with this we know that the value is very small, which means that even though our variables are normal, by the way, even though they were normally distributed, it rejects our null hypothesis. So, which is why our data wasn't very critical to what we were expecting to find. Here, just to prove like the normality, like I said, so we just did for 8 and 10. Question 8 was normally distributed as had a skew of 0.085. So it passed the normality for the skew test. Kurtosis, it was still, even though it's over -1, it was still normally distributed, as you can tell from the graph. Question 10, however, you can tell it's very high in the skew because everyone's agreeing or strong agreeing as opposed to disagreeing with the fact that the strategy is effective.
Okay, so our data analysis. So in question 10, 77% of the people said that the campaign was effective. We interpreted that the campaign is effective based on the secondary research we found, but our sample size was too small to prove Coca-Cola's positive influence on their purchase decisions.
So what we would like to do differently if we were able to do it again is obviously our sample size was very small because of the constraint on time and what we had to work with. So if we did use a larger sample size, it would be a lot better, as we would be able to get a better understanding of what people want. For example, the environment that we conducted our survey in was in a university classroom, so we think a lot of social social responsibility and social classes, whatnot, did play a role on people's answers. So we would have liked to use our preferred scale of Coke lovers, and we would also have excluded certain questions that were a little bit irrelevant to our information. And then for the next slide. So for our management decision, based off of our sample size, we came to the conclusion that it wouldn't be in Coca-Cola's best interest to continue in the financing of the Share Coke campaign, because at the end of the day, it really isn't positively influencing our decision. Though we did come to this conclusion though, this doesn't necessarily mean that this is true throughout Canada, because we did not survey enough people to really come to that conclusion. So our conclusion is the data that we collected shows us that the personalization of Coke products through the Share Coke campaign is inconclusive about positively influencing the consumer's decision about Coke. The campaign was successful, however, we noticed that the sample we tested did not reflect the results we found in the secondary research. This, as I said, is probably due to bias and because of the sample that we did the survey on. And these are our bibliography, and that's our presentation.